proudly admire. And for all of us, our love for cinema is inseparable from our love for Kamal Haasan sir and our respect for him. So can I please request you all to give this living legend right here on the stage a much bigger round of applause, ladies and gentlemen. And of course, joining him today is the wonderful Trisha Krishnan. It was the year 1999. You won Miss Chennai. You also made your debut in cinema. And I think something changed for all of us. For every single girl in Chennai who went to college, who had that dream, we now have someone to look up to. And thank you for giving all of us that. 10 years after you, I participated in Miss Chennai, and you were the name that we heard every single day. Thank you for giving girls like me a role model in this industry. Thank you so very much. Ladies and gentlemen, someone who's been in the industry for 25 years, an evergreen star. Every single time she walks into a frame, there's still that twinkle in that eye and that smile that lights up the screen. Can you please give her a huge round of applause? So, I would like to dive right into the discussion, and sir, let me make a reference to something we said earlier when you were making a comment about parochial boundaries with regard to cinema. Do you still feel that we have geographical barriers in regional cinema? Are those barriers what they used to be? Do they need to be broken down? What is the way forward, in your opinion?
See, I've been advocating this breaking of barriers for as long as I can remember. I think it will happen, but I was in a hurry. This digital revolution, according to me, is 20 years late. It could have been done earlier. The delay, the impediment is not the Himalayas or the Vindhyas or anything else. It's the people who are worried about what is coming through now, through the till. That might stop. So any new technology would mean delay in income coming in. It need not be so. If we segue into the newer trend, if we could just see over the top of that cliff, then we'll all be in the same page. But some are not willing to come. That's the delay that's been taken. OTT could have come in maybe 2012 when I attempted it. But we were all concerned, and I had to address that before. And as you said, that word frightens them. If broken down, breaking down, demolishing, all that, they are thinking in terms of the real estate. An idea is not a real estate. An idea becomes a real estate. So that, if you understand, it will automatically break. It's happening. As I said, the audience are not parochial anymore. Thanks to available platforms like Google and various other things, they are into a mindset like that.
Sir, can I then ask you, you've always been ahead of time with regard to the industry with embracing technology. You're rooted in our culture, our heritage, those hardcore Indian stories, but you always have an eye to the future. What's next? How can I use technology to my advantage to tell this Indian story, to tell this very incredibly Tamil story? So what do you think is coming up next? What is the technology that we should be embracing with open arms?
See, before trying to act as a soothsayer, it's the inherent quality of an Indian to just easily move into the latest technology. A villager from Paramkudi started using Bluetooth before I did. I was living in Chennai. And that I realized when I went to look at the villages again, because I've been staying in the cities, I was writing Virumandi. And that's when I saw this person riding in a cycle with all farm utensils behind him, and he was talking. I thought he's slightly demented. But when I drove close to him, I found out he had a Bluetooth, which I had not yet acquired. So they will be ready. You present them with the technology, they'll take AI, they'll take anything, because they are the actual users.
I love that, sir. I love that example of the people who embrace technology are not just living in the cities, but every single Indian. In fact, the majority of India, which is rural India, embraces technology. Thank you for highlighting that. Trisha, I want to come to you since you've been working in multiple languages, and how do you feel the industry has changed now with regard to regional languages and the barriers between industries?
I think some of those barriers have been broken already thanks to the digital platform and the amazing OTT platforms we have today, that cinema has become very pan-Indian to begin with. I mean, every time I visit the north or I'm filming somewhere there are so many people who don't speak Tamil or Telugu, predominantly the films I do, but they've watched my films because all of them can now watch it dubbed or with subtitles. So many of those barriers have already been broken thanks to that. And like Sir said, he was way ahead of his time. And we're getting there. Yeah.
So, can I ask you, do you have a favorite film of Kamal sir's? Is there a character he's played that you love and adore?
That is the most unfair question you can ask anybody, because I have grown up watching Kamal sir's films. And he's done close to 300 films now, sir? 300 or
250 and above.
okay, close to 300. We'll leave it there. But it's impossible. But there are some films that I run to and I've probably watched maybe 30 times, 40 times, and I've run to every time I'm having a bad day or I want to have a good laugh. And one is Michael Madana Kamarajan, Nayakan, of course, and Devar Mahan. So many, and in recent times I loved Vikram. I watched it thrice in the theatre and twice after that at home. So I mean, that's swag personified. So many.
So how many times have you watched Thug Life? How many times for Kamal Haasan? How many times for Trisha?
I watched it probably a notch above the rest of them. But we've all grown up watching his films. My entire household is like that. So, I mean, yeah, these are my top, at the top of my head, these are the films I would pick.
And I love the fact that you brought up Nayagan. I think it's been 37 years since then, and so you're finally reuniting with Mani Ratnam sir for Thug Life.
Yeah.
We have all been waiting, we have been creating like online requests, fans have been signing it saying, please, please, please work together. How has this finally happened?
No, we were willing to work together, but you got us worried because you increased the expectation so much. We said, be careful. I mean, too much expectation from us. We'll have to find a good story. Then you bring a story, I'll bring a story. We went on for years. Then finally we decided to do it together. And that's what happened.
And so, what has the experience been like? I mean, what is the contrast between having worked 3 decades ago and now the experience of working with Mani sir? How is the equation?
Now that you tell me about the time, we remember it. Otherwise, I am suddenly surprised that he's surprised at the grey in my beard, and I'm surprised at the grey in his head. The grey matter I knew was always there. But now it's surfaced to the top.
My, the making of this movie, I think that needs to be released after the film as well, and I think as fans we will thoroughly enjoy banter like this that would have happened behind the scenes.
Now she was there, but it's very subcutaneous. You won't see any transmission happening.
I was just going to say that. But they're like, like BFFs who've grown up together, they know each other's minds, they know what the other one is thinking. It's amazing.
It's almost like there's a neural link between the two of them.
Yes, there's a neural link.
A slight crinkle of the eye or a cock of the head is the indication.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
So people, what did he say and why are you doing this? So that we we stopped showing off, and then he said, better come and tell me, because they were asking me. But that's the understanding, because we started off even before making movies, at least 2-3 years of just discussing what kind of movies we'd like to see. So we've gone to movies together, we watched movies over and over of great masters, and it's the same school, because we never went to any. He went to Bajaj, I went to Mr. Balachandran. So that's all. But otherwise, whatever we learned together. A group of friends, the kind of films we wanted to see, and there were no takers at that time. So we waited, bided our time, and it happened.
And now there are plenty of takers. But Trisha, what I want to ask you is, apart from this subliminal communication that is happening on set, Mani sir is known for writing very complex, multi-layered, and beautifully complex female characters. What is your character like in this film? How has it been essaying this role?
So when I met Mani sir for the first time, and he narrated the gist to me, he was like, we had just come out of Ponniyin Selvan at that time, and he said, whatever you did here is the extreme opposite. I need that, can you? And that was enough to be very honest, had it not been a Mani sir's film, I don't know if I would have undertaken such a role for anybody else, because it's very different. It's anything but me, but that's Sir, right? He can bring out the complexities of any character and make somebody live it. So I'm privileged that he had the faith in me that I could carry this off.
Well, we look forward to seeing that diametrically opposite character that you essay in Thug Life. But sir, I want to ask you, be it Devar Magan or Nayagan, people always say a hero, a lead actor, usually has a difficult choice. They can either pick a role that is going to give them critical acclaim, where people will talk about their acting chops and how incredible they are, or they can look towards garnering commercial success. You have been one of the few, very successfully over the decades, have walked that fine line, where you pick projects where you get both critical acclaim and have fabulous commercial success. What is your secret sauce?
Yes, the sauce has been bottled by people like Chaplin, Hitchcock, and sold to us. We gulped ounces of it. And so Chaplin is a great hero who brought art, pure art, which could, in today's time, become art film as such. So he made it commercial. So he is the man who gave us confidence to do a Pushpa. Because Chaplin did a silent movie when the rest of the Hollywood started speaking. He did City Lights. So these are my doyens, these are my gurus. And people like Kurosawa, Mani sir and I, we grew up on these kind of films. And we wanted to be like them. It's like sons imitating the gait of the father or mother. It's as easy as that. And there's no magic to it. If you're passionate about it, the passion will get transferred to the audience.
Well, sir, they do say you stand tall on the shoulders of those who came before you, and my, how tall you stand on the shoulders of those who came before you. Can I just... They say we stand tall on the shoulders of those who came before us. And before you came Chaplin, there was Kurosawa, these idols. Can I say how tall you stand on the shoulders?
I'm taller than Chaplin because I'm standing on his shoulder. That's not my height.
Well, sir, speaking of artists and creatives who are outliers, who do work that is slightly different from the norm in their time, when you did Hey Ram about 25 years ago, it's the 25th anniversary of Hey Ram. What was the original idea behind Hey Ram, and why do you think it's still relevant today in 2025?
The Hey Ram story could be treated as a thriller. If you ask the genre of Hey Ram, it could be a thriller, it could be a historic fiction, anything. I wanted to make that film because I discovered Gandhiji on my own, not because my father teaching me. As a matter of fact, my non-detailed study, my school books, my rupee note, all had Gandhi. So naturally, icon bashing is a great youth sport. So anything that is brought in front of us as an icon, we will try to bash, kick the ball at it and see what happens. So I was no exception. Till around the time I was 24, 25, I wrote my first full script on my own, and
Understanding his philosophy with regard to your age and how that has changed. So thank you for sharing
my
that with
only
us.
criticism, which still stands for Mr. Gandhiji and Mr. Periyar, Ivera Periyar, is that both did not like cinema. That I will not forgive them for. But apart from that, they were my great heroes.
Thank you, sir. Trisha, I want to come to you and I want to ask you, in your 25-year journey in the industry, what has changed? How is it different now to be a woman in the industry? What are the positives that you see today?
Firstly, the shelf life. There is no shelf life anymore. As in, if somebody were to come to me and ask me, where do you see yourself 5 years from now or 10 years from now, I probably wouldn't have had an answer maybe even 5 years back. But now there is so much. There is so much because of the beautiful characters that are written for women. And I think today, like a director, a superstar, they believe that you need a well etched out heroine's character in a film. But as you know, I've worked in 3 films with Kamal sir, and like you said, he's always been a man way ahead of his time. He was very particular about that. Every film I've done with him has the women's characters written and etched out so beautifully. And people see the significance and the importance of that today. And there are so many women technicians. It's grown leaps and bounds. Everywhere I go, there are women directors, cinematographers. I've been blessed to have worked with a few of them, choreographers. So it's definitely a massive progress.
We were just talking the day before.
Yeah.
And I said, when they say before, this is a nail-biting action film. I do the action, she does the nail biting. But all that has changed. I might have to grow nails while she does the action.
But I think, sir, you've always been like that.
I trained under Mr. Balaji.
Yes, exactly. Who wrote the most beautiful scripts for
Female
women.
characters,
Yes, and
yes.
such independent, strong characters.
Sir, I want to ask you, today is World Mother Languages Day. And we talk about, you spoke earlier about how we can emulate what the West has been doing, what the Koreans have been doing with regard to advancing their culture and the soft power
The
that...
camera is a statement, is a sentence.
Wonderful, a very interesting perspective about how cinema is a language in itself. And thank you for that, sir. But now I want to remind you, of the famous dialogue from Nayakan. Neenga nallavara, kettavara. We never got the answer for it. For those of you who don't speak Tamil, this is an iconic dialogue which says...
Why do you expect the answer from Nayakan? Go stand in front of your mirror and ask that question.
Are you a good person or a bad person? That's what the dialogue translates to.
I till date, I've stopped shaving now, so I spend little time in front of the mirror. Otherwise I'll be... All those times I spent in front of a mirror while making myself into some other character, I've never found the answer. I could be both. Depends on the point of view, where you place the camera, who places the camera. If it's my camera, I'm a good man.
So, but coming to Thug Life, and we have Rangaraja Saktivel Nayakar. Nallavara, kettavara. Padam paathadan theriyuma.
Amma.
But மின்னாடி கொஞ்சம் ஒரு ரெண்டு வரியாவது சொல்லுங்களேன் சார்.
அப்போ திருப்பி போய் மணி ரத்னம் சாரை மீட் பண்ண வேண்டாமா? என்ன சார் அங்கே போய் நான் கஷ்டப்பட்டு இவ்வளோ எடிட்டெல்லாம் பண்ணிட்டு இருக்கேன், எடிட்டிங்கே இல்லாமல் தட்டி விட்டீங்களே நீங்கள் மொத்த கதையும் அங்கே அப்படின்னு கேட்டாருன்னா நான் என்ன பதில் சொல்ல முடியும்? ஸோ ஐ திங்க் ஷீ அண்டர்ஸ்டாண்ட் த சிச்சுவேஷன் பெட்டர். பிகாஸ் கதையே சொல்லாமல் ஏதோ அவர் சொன்ன மாதிரியும் அவங்க கேட்ட மாதிரியும் ஒரு பிரமையை ஏற்படுத்திட்டாங்கல்ல, அதை தான் நான் பண்ண முடியும்.
இதுல கூட ஆன்சர் கிடைக்காது. தக்லை
தக்லை பார்த்தாலும் ஆன்சர் கிடைக்காது. நல்லது கெட்டது சேர்ந்தது தான். கணக்குக்கு எது முக்கியம், பிளஸ்ஸா மைனஸான்னு கேட்டால்.
So, I love the analogy. But is this what it's like to work with him on a film? How do you stay in character for a role if this is what conversations are going to be like? What was it like on the sets of Tagline?
You know, he finds it a cliche, but every time you work with a Kamal sir, it's really like going to school. It's like pretty much unlearning everything you've learned and learning something new.
Yeah, she came to school with me. She wouldn't like to admit it because...
I did.
Yeah, with me.
I did, yes.
I also go to school every time I make a film.
And that's why he is...
I hate the idea of that Guru Stan, you know. That okay, Mr. Balchandra had to suffer it. I will not suffer it. I will remain a student and go to school with Trisha and probably your daughter.
But sir, can we maybe convince you to suffer it and start a Kamal Haasan film school? Because you were talking about how learning and skill development is the independence movement for the film industry. You've always been one where you don't wait for someone else to start it. You get it started yourself. When can we expect the school?
I think you're overestimating the teaching profession. Because a PhD goes back to his village and touches the feet of his 5th standard school teacher. So that's all I can be for the future PhD. I can't follow him all the way to his university. So I can only give the basic thing, but I can gather talented people for various faculties, because cinema is not just about actors. National Geographic is cinema to me. When I see it, I see drama, I see emotions, I see what you call, I become what Shankaracharya calls the Sakshi Bhutam. We are all Sakshi Bhutam for what is happening there. We cannot interfere, we should not interfere. So that's what I can be. I can't interfere with the growth of the future actor, because I'll be teaching him wrong. I'll be teaching him acting of my time. It will be useful for him, like my predecessors' acting talents have been very useful for me, but I cannot exactly copy it and bring it forth to an audience who doesn't even know where I learnt it from. So they are just watching this. And I think I'd love to start a school, but that school is not where I will be teaching. I'll be learning. In the pretext of running a school, I would love to go back and sit with the students and learn, because so many things are changing every 6 months. There are fantastic teachers within the audience sitting here. But that alone will not do. You need 12 more people like that. We have solid, strong faculties like 12 people on the top. Now, as I said, we need to start schools, ITI. Okay. So, ITI is very important because we go into a set and the top guys who are working are about 7-8 people. The rest of them are very essential for that set, and they must have skills or the set will become a chaos. So who trains them? They must be sheer genius to have picked up whatever they have picked up with no teachers teaching them. All of them are ekalavyas. There are no dronas teaching them what to do. It's on their own. Wanting to be like that drona, but they learn on their own. The light bulb. Once in a while, a busy director will say, don't do it like that. That's the time a director can spend teaching on the set. He can't afford to. So I always tell assistant directors who come to me and say, I'll work with you and I'll learn cinema. You can't. I'm so busy saving my backside. I can't be teaching you. And please tell me why I would take you as my assistant. Would I do that to a driver who says, I don't know anything about cars, but with you, with your guidance, I'll become a fantastic driver. Yeah, what happens to me? And much worse, what happens if you're a cook and you're going to learn at my expense? So the same will apply for assistant director, camera assistant, focus puller, light, the man who holds the cutter so that the light doesn't fall on the wrong areas. All that we have to now invest back. And I'd love to go to those classes because I'm sure that nobody taught me those things. So it'll be a new learning.
Well, sir, attendance will be through the roof if you are attending those classes. So we hope you do that. It will encourage more people in the industry
No,
to
I did
upskill.
that. In Los Angeles, I went to a school and one Bengali gentleman who was also an alumni recognized me. And the whole thing, he introduced me to everybody. Then I was no more a student, so I had to walk out.
So, Trisha, I want to ask you, because Kamal sir is unbelievably humble and he's not going to talk about his legacy or his contribution to cinema. What, in your opinion, is his impact on cinema?
You know, he pretty much answered that for me over the last 20 minutes. The very fact that he thinks he's still a student. That is the kind of impact he has had on me, because I think I've known Kamal sir for about 15 years now. We've worked on 3 films. It's amazing that, like he said, there is no hierarchy when he's on set. Whether it is me, whether it is a character someone playing a character, whether it is a child in a film. He has inculcated how important training is for a film, and everybody here is just a student. And the childlike enthusiasm and the 100% commitment and conviction he gives to anything. And as everybody knows, he has done so many different roles besides being an actor, and he has excelled at all of them. So you don't know which is better than the other. And he's one of those rare cases, I would like to say, is the jack of all trades and the master of all of them as well. Yeah.
I like that. Well, just to shift gears for a second, I want to ask you first and then come to Kamal. So, what do you think is the role of, organizations like FICCI and the government with regard to supporting the Indian media and entertainment industry?
See, I think the government is very important in terms of supporting the film industry. And thanks to FICCI, we have what we're doing today, where we can sit, we can discuss, we can dilute, we can encourage, we can put out our thoughts, our views, our ideas, and there can be a one-on-one banter, or even I wouldn't say an argument. Everything is debatable, and this is carried forward, to the people concerned through FICCI. So I think things like that are very important, so even our voices are heard. So, yeah.
The reason why FICCI was started nearly 100 years ago, it was a very precise moment when Gandhiji decided that it must be done. And right now is when the British government decided, after proclaiming Victoria as the Queen of India, it came as a shock for those citizens. And after a few years, they decided to mint money in India for Indian as Indian currency. That's when FICCI was started. Then he said, we have to be part of this chain that is happening. That's when he said the famous statement, there is enough for every man's need, but not enough for any one man's greed. That was said at this meeting. And that's the kind of visionary we had. And like she is astounded at things I do, I am still astounded by what Gandhiji did. Did you know that he wrote with both his hands? And he never used carbon paper because he thought of carbon emission then. So that's the kind of man he was. He thought of FICCI and he didn't think on his own. He had peers and he was involved in the constitution making of India, and he had very little to say. All of them who made the constitution took it to him for correction, like a teacher. He said, no, I'm very sure you have deliberated and done the best, but I want, if at all any correction I'd like to make, any statement in the constitution should be beneficial to the least rich man in society. If the constitution achieves that, it's a complete work. That's what he said. And most of the constitution of India was written here in Mylapore. Yeah, all of them. Ambedkar came here. It was written in Lush Church Road, in Mr. Alladi's house. I've sat in that room and he had marked it. Mr. Alladi Krishnaswamy has marked the chairs where Rajaji sat, where Ambedkar sat, and I've touched those chairs. I'm that continuation, and I'm proud to be that. And FICCI is that continuation.
Sir, can I just say, just like how Jennifer Lopez inspired Google Images, it's like, I feel like artificial intelligence and like ChatGPT was created inspired by you. Because in this one conversation, we've understood the history of our nation, found anecdotes where we can take pride in the city that we live in, we've grown up in, and I must commend you on that. You inspire every single one of us to continue to be students of life and students in the Kamal Haasan School of Life.
Yeah, if you had asked me these questions about 30 years back, I may not have had the same answers. I'm growing.
Thank you for helping us grow with you. But I want to come back to this wonderful film that you haven't told me anything about, which is Thug Life. Can you at least tell me, it's a multi-starrer film, who are your co-actors? Can you tell me a little bit about them?
Definitely, it's a multi-starrer film because there are some of the actors in the film who are going to become stars. If you include them, it truly is a multi-starrer film. And of course, we also add to it. But it's a kind of film which Mani wanted to do, I wanted to do, so we are doing it.
Well, when do we get the viewing pleasure for this film?
June 5th.
June 5th. Wonderful. And Trisha, who else do we get to see on screen in this film on June 5th? Who are the other about to be stars and already stars whose stardom is going to grow with this film?
You know, I will get a phone call.
Only one part.
Yes, I will get a phone call from Mani sir the next minute I leave this podium, because that's how he's very silent about the work he does, right? So,
which is why we're trying to get you all to do the talking. I would not dare to ask Mani sir these questions.
I'm well trained by him.
But the thing is, the story is conceived in such a way, some characters that I interact with, she'll never interact with. And it's a separate part of my life. And so it is like that. I mean, not all people working with me will attend FICCI meet. It is like that. So the story has so many characters, very talented actors, and from Malayalam, from Hindi cinema, from Telugu cinema, we have all sorts of great talent. The talent that I would have, each one of them are capable of holding a film on their own.
Well, that's an incredible introduction, and we're all going to wait with bated breath for June 5th. But, sir, I want to ask you this. How do you stay so on top of everything? Like, we saw that interview with Shruti, and she was talking about how your emoji game is just next level. How do you do this? Like, how are you so clued in with every generation that comes?
No, people thought I was a good child actor. I was just a mimic. I was a parrot. All these emojis, I'm mimicking. I don't know about that. So if you give me something exciting, you teach me a game, I'll play it. Whether I'll excel in it or not is another thing to be seen. But I'll play the game. That's what it is, probably what Shruti was mentioning. Must have been that. I'm enthusiastic about any new learning, except mathematics. That's why I came to cinema.
Don't worry, sir. You make us feel a little bit better. We can all relate in the fact that there's one thing Kamal Haasan's not great at, which is mathematics. So it's nice. It adds to your relatability factor, and I love that. I want to ask you, how clued in are you with the Gen Z lingo that we see everywhere? Do you need flashcards and someone to help you translate it, or do you know what's happening?
No, I don't know what's happening at all. He probably knows better. Everything, the Gen Z generation, there's so much I learn. Like just last week I learned that it's a bit hard to keep up with.
You can't keep track of it. I was just talking to somebody who was teaching AI, and she didn't know a particular guy who has come up with a coding program that's banned in some of the American schools because the children are excelling in coding. And that's called Replit.com. And it's done by Masad, Javed Masad or something. And it's fantastic. And I didn't poke my nose into it because so much maths in it. I got scared. I could have gone back to MCT Mutejatiya High School to suffer it. Why got married?
Sir, on that note, I want to say thank you so very much for your candor, your humor, your wit, and of course, the wealth of knowledge that you always bring to every interaction. Thank you for this. Trisha, as always, radiant as ever. Thank you for lighting up the stage. Thank you for being here with us. More importantly, thank you for joining me in fangirling over Kamal, sir.
Absolutely, it's an honor.
Sir, I would love to take audience questions, but in the interest of time, we have a day-long summit. There are other people who have to take the stage as well. So please forgive me. Thank you so very much for understanding.
Sorry.